Hello there, this is Teacher Doms, and welcome to this course on the legal basis of values education. This course has three modules. The first one is about the legal basis of values education with two lessons. And then the second module is about the Moral Recovery Program or MRP with four lessons, and the last module is a short drill. Without further ado, let's get started. This is Module 1, Lesson 1, Pertinent Documents. The first ever official policy that contains a statement on values education is found in the 1935 Philippine Constitution. The Article 14, Section 8 states, "All educational institutions shall aim to develop moral character, personal discipline, civic conscience, and vocational efficiency, and teach the duties of citizenship." Then, in the 1973 Philippine Constitution, the Article 14, Section 4 made the following additions. All educational institutions shall aim to inculcate love of country, teach the duties of citizenship, and develop moral character, personal discipline, and scientific, technological, and vocational efficiency. Our present Constitution, the 1987 Philippine Constitution, starts with a preamble that clearly affirms religious, spiritual, and moral values. It says, "We, the sovereign Filipino people, imploring the aid of Almighty God, in order to build a just and humane society, and establish a government that shall embody our ideals and aspirations, promote the common good, conserve and develop our patrimony, and secure to ourselves and our posterity the blessings of independence and democracy, under the rule of law and a regime of truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace, do ordain and promulgate this Constitution." So, the key words for values like love, truth, peace, justice, equality are affirmed from the very start of the Constitution. Further, the Article 2, Section 13 emphasizes moral and spiritual values. It says, "The state recognizes the vital role of the youth in nation building and shall promote and protect their physical, moral, spiritual, intellectual, and social well-being. It shall inculcate in the youth patriotism and nationalism and encourage their involvement in public and civic affairs." Article 2, Section 17 likewise emphasizes that the state shall give priority to education, science and technology, arts, culture, and sports to foster patriotism and nationalism, accelerate social progress, and promote total human liberation and development. The educational policy statement in Article 14, Section 3 states, "All educational institutions shall inculcate patriotism and nationalism, foster love of humanity, respect for human rights, appreciation of the role of national heroes in the historical development of the country, teach the rights and duties of citizenship, strengthen ethical and spiritual values, develop moral character and creative thinking, broaden science, scientific and technological knowledge, and promote vocational efficiency." Based on the mandate of the 1987 Constitution, the Department of Education, Culture and Sports, DEX, now DepEd, the DEX Values Education Program Framework, authored by the then DEX Secretary Dr. Lourdes Arquisambing, has been developed to serve as a guideline for the implementation of values education programs in the three levels of education: the elementary, secondary, and tertiary. It was in 1988 that DEX, through the leadership of Dr. Lourdes Arquisambing, made values education as an educational thrust in all the levels of Philippine education. The new secondary curriculum, which was implemented starting school year 1989-1990, introduced values education as a separate subject, while values development was also integrated in all the other subjects in the curriculum. Moving on to the next document, the content of the 4-year Values Education Program according to DEX Order Number 6, Series of 1988, was focused on the development of a fully functioning human person. It developed through four main concepts of values development, such as the development of relationship skills with the self, with fellow human beings, with forces around him, and with the supreme being. New development in values ed was seen at the start of the 21st century. The 2002 Basic Education Curriculum or BEC provided for a stronger integration of competencies and values within and across the learning areas. Values education was treated as integral to the five learning areas: English, Filipino, mathematics, science, and makabayan. Education in and for values was geared towards the learner's self-actualization. Besides its integration in every learning area, edukasyon sa pagpapahalaga or values education for first to fourth year was given 60 minutes per week entirely for values processing activities that will deepen and enrich the analysis of values within and across every learning area. Another document is the Republic Act 10533 or the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013. As a subject, Values Ed was removed when the K-12 curriculum was implemented in 2013. This was only integrated in other subjects. And that is why President Duterte signed the Republic Act 11476 or the GMRC and Values Education Act in 2020. According to this, GMRC shall be taught from grades 1 to 6 as a separate subject with the same time allotment as other subjects and shall be integrated in the daily learning activities in the kindergarten level. And for grades 7 to 10, values education will be taught as a separate subject with the same time allotment as other core subjects. And for grades 11 and 12, it will be integrated into the teaching of subjects. According to Senator Sherwin Gatchalan, the Senate Basic Education Committee Chair in 2020, the new law strengthens learners' character development and values formation even as the basic education system enters the new normal because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And according to Pasig City Representative Roman Romulo, who chairs the House Committee on the Basic Education and Culture in 2020, through this measure, the basic tenets of good manners and right conduct, such as caring for oneself, giving concern for others, proper respect to people, upholding discipline and order, and cultivating sincerity, honesty, obedience, and above all, love for country, will once again be inculcated in our youth. To recap, we talk about the pertinent documents as the legal basis of values education in the Philippines. We talk about the 1935 Philippine Constitution, the 1973 Constitution Section 4 specifically, the Philippine Constitution of 1987, Text Order Number 6, Series of 1988, the Republic Act 10533 or the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, and the Republic Act 11476, the GMRC and Values Education Act. And that's the Module 1, Lesson 1, Pertinent Documents. Hi there, this is Module 1, Lesson 2, the 1997 Values Education Framework. Let's begin. Values have a social function. Commonly held values unite families, tribes, societies, and nations. They are essential to the democratic way of life, which puts a high premium on freedom and the rule of law. And that is why, shortly after the People's Revolution of February 1986, the DEX made values education a primary thrust. Similarly, the DEX thrust found strong support in the Philippine Constitution of 1987 and its vision of a just and humane society, which calls for a shared culture and commonly held values such as truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace. In the pursuit of this thrust, the text has embarked on a values education program with the following goal and objectives. Its goal is to provide and promote values education at all three levels of the educational system for the development of the human person committed to the building of a just and humane society and an independent and democratic nation. The text values and framework has the following objectives: to develop Filipinos who are, number one, self actualized, integrally developed human beings imbued with a sense of human dignity, social beings with a sense of responsibility for their community and environment. Third, productive persons who contribute to the economic security and development of the family and the nation. Fourth, as citizens have a deep sense of nationalism and are committed to the progress of the nation as well as of the entire world community through global solidarity. And the last one is manifest in actual life an abiding faith in God as a reflection of their spiritual being. The values education framework pursued at the national, regional, local, and institution levels should be guided by the following general principles. Number one, it must be oriented toward the total person of the learner, mind, heart, and entire being. So it's about holistic education. Number two, it must take into consideration the unique role of the family in one's personal development and integration into society and nation. Here, we recognize the importance of our family where all our values begin. Third, in the school context, more important than lesson plans and any list of values are the teachers themselves who have the proper sense of values, awareness of their inner worth, and utmost respect for the person of the other. In short, these principles focus on the learners, family, and teachers. The values education framework herein presented is based on a rational understanding or a philosophy of the human person. More specifically, it is grounded on the rational understanding of the Filipino in his historical and cultural context, supported by the Philippine Constitution of 1987. That understanding of the Filipino as a human being in society and his role in the shaping of society and the environment may be reconstructed from the various statements of the Constitution and expressed in the following manners. Number one, the human person is the subject of education. He or she is a human person learning and being taught. The human person is also the object of education. That means he or she is at the center of the curriculum and the entire program. And the task of education is to help the Filipino develop his or her human potential, contribute to the growth of the Philippine culture, and by taking care of the environment and making use of human and non-human resources, build appropriate structure and institution for the attainment of a just and humane society. Number two, the human person is multidimensional. There is, first of all, the distinction between the person as self and the person in community. But in real life, these are not two different and separate aspects. The person as self grows precisely by developing his faculties in contact with the world and others in the community and by taking an active role in improving that community. Number three, the human person is an individual self-conscious being of incalculable value in himself or herself, who cannot be a mere instrument of the society and of the state. He or she is not just body and soul juxtaposed or mixed as oil and water, but he or she is an embodied spirit. Therefore, his or her physical, intellectual, moral, and spiritual well-being is recognized by the state. Number four, the human person is a social being. Humans do not live in isolation but in community with other persons, physical, intellectual, moral, and spiritual, like himself or herself. Therefore, humans are inevitably social. Humans belong to a family, the basic unit of society, or in the words of the Constitution, the foundation of the nation, as well as to a wider and more complex society of men and women. Being social, humans participate in defining the goals and destinies of the community and in achieving the common good. Number five, humans are also economic beings. Life in community involves the concerns of livelihood, sufficiency, production, and consumption. And lastly, humans are political creatures. Like other people in the world, the Filipinos have constituted themselves into a nation state to pursue the goal of social progress and total human liberation and development. The text framework philosophy, therefore, is grounded on the understanding of the nature of the Filipino human person, who is both the subject and the object of values education, a multidimensional being, an embodied spirit endowed with dignity, a social being who belongs to a family, and a creature in the world with economic and political concerns. The text framework core values emerge from the understanding, the recognition, and the acceptance of the different dimensions of the human person, which are physical, spiritual, intellectual, moral, social, economic, and political. In all of these dimensions, the supreme and overarching value that characterizes values education is human dignity. The value of the person is of infinite value. From all these dimensions, the core values were determined. From physical dimension, the core values are health and harmony with nature. From spiritual dimension, global spirituality. From intellectual dimension, truth and tolerance. From moral dimension, love and goodness. From social dimension, peace and justice and respect for human rights. From economic dimension, sustainable human development. And from political dimension, the core values are nationalism and globalism. The last thing we will look into are the values closely related to these core values. Let's find out. In this last part of the lesson, let's look into the values that are closely related to the core values. This is according to the text Values Education Framework. If you remember, we talk about the dimensions of the human person and the core values. For physical dimension, remember, the core values are health and harmony with nature. And here, the related values are holistic health, cleanliness, physical fitness, reverence and respect for life, and environmental care. For intellectual dimension, the core values are truth and tolerance. And here, the related values are love of truth, critical thinking, creativity, openness and respect for others, and future orientation. For moral dimension, the core values are love and goodness. And here, the related values are self-worth or self-esteem, goodness, honesty, integrity, personal discipline, courage, trust, compassion, caring, and sharing. For social dimension, the core values, peace and justice should start from strengthening family solidarity and respect for human rights as a member of society. And here, the related values are respect and love for one's family, family solidarity, responsible parenthood, concern for common good, cooperation, social responsibility and accountability, creative goodwill, fairness, appreciation of diversity, and active nonviolence. For spiritual dimension, we have the global spirituality. And here, the related values are faith in God, inner peace, religious tolerance, and unity of all. And then, for economic dimension, our core values are sustainability and human development. And here, The related values are balance between economic and social development, protection of the environment, wise use of resources, responsible consumerism, productivity and quality, economic equity, work ethic, and entrepreneurial spirit. For political dimension, our core values are nationalism and globalism. And here, the related values are love of country, heroism and appreciation of heroes, appreciation of cultural heritage, democracy, freedom and responsibility, civic consciousness and active participation, committed leadership, national unity, international understanding and solidarity, interdependence, appreciation of world heritage, cultural freedom, and global peace. So, those are the values related to the core values. There are many of them, and it will be helpful if you can remember them. So, to recap, we talk about the 1997 Values Education Framework, its goals and objectives, the principles and guidelines, the DEX framework philosophy, the human dimensions, and the core values and the related values. And that's the Module 1, Lesson 2, the 1997 Values Education Framework. This is Module 2, the Moral Recovery Program, under the course Legal Basis of Values Education. This module has 4 lessons. In Lesson 1, you will learn the MRP background. In Lesson 2, you will learn the strengths of Filipino character. Then in Lesson 3, you will learn the weaknesses of Filipino character. And in Lesson 4, you will learn the goals and strategies for change through this moral recovery program. Let's get started! This is Module 2, Lesson 1, the Moral Recovery Program Background. As requested, this lesson and the following lessons will be in Taglish. Let's begin! Noong September 30, 1992, nilagdaan ni Pangulong Fidel V. Ramos ang Presidential Proclamation No. 62. Ito ay naghihikayat sa lahat ng sektor ng lipunan na aktibong makiisa sa Moral Recovery Program. Hinikayat ng Pangulo ang sambayanang Pilipino na maging makadiyos, makatao, makabayan at makakalikasan. Ang MRP ay programa ng pamahalaan na nagpaigting sa kahalagahan ng values education or edukasyon sa pagpapahalaga sa lahat ng sangay at antas ng lipunan. Ang MRP ay bunga ng Senate Resolution No. 10 na ipinasa ni Senator Leticia R. Shahani at inaprubahan ng Senado noong September 18, 1987. Ang resolusyon ay nagbigay ng mandato sa Senate Task Force na siyasatin at tukuyin ang mga kalakasan at kahinaan ng mga Pilipino na pwedeng magamit na basihan sa pagresolba sa mga sakit ng lipunan at upang patatagin ang pambansang moral na siyang pundasyon ng pambansang kampanya tungo sa moral recovery. Ano nga ba ang Moral Recovery Program? Ang MRP ay isang kampanya ng pamahalaang Ramos na naglalayong pakilusin ang sambayanang Pilipino tungo sa pagreforma ng bansang Pilipinas sa pamamagitan ng praktikal na pagsasabuhay ng ating mga mabubuting kaugalian at asal bilang mamamayang Pilipino at upang maunawaan natin ang kapangyarihan ng kabutihang asal sa pagkamit ng ating mga pangarap bilang individual man o bilang isang bansa. Layunin din ito na bigyang kapangyarihan ang mamamayang Pilipino, mahirap man o mayaman, sa pamamagitan ng walang humpay na pagsasabuhay ng ating mabubuting kaugalian na bahagi na ng ating kultura at tradisyon. Ang 4 na haligi o 4 pillars ng Moral Recovery Program ay makadiyos, makabayan, makatao, at makakalikasan. So, that's the Moral Recovery Program, a brief background, and the 4 pillars of MRP. And that's the Module 2, Lesson 1, the Moral Recovery Program background. This is Module 2, Lesson 2, the strengths of the Filipino character. Let's begin! In the previous lesson, if you remember, the Senate Task Force was directed by the Senate Resolution No. 10 in 1987 to identify the strengths and weaknesses of the Filipino character. And so, they were able to identify the following strengths. pakikipagkapwa-tao, family orientation, joy and humor, flexibility, adaptability and creativity, hard work and industry, faith and religiosity, and ability to survive. Tingnan natin ito isa-isa. Let's get started. Number 1, pakikipagkapwa-tao. Likas sa ating mga Pilipino ang husay sa pakikipagkapwa. Palagi tayong bukas sa ibang tao at ramdam natin ang isa't isa. Mataas ang pagpapahalaga natin sa dignidad ng bawat tao at sa respeto sa bawat isa. Ang pakikipagkapwa-tao ay naipapamalas natin sa pagpapahalaga natin sa katarungan, pagiging patas at malasakit sa kapwa. Naipapamalas din natin ito sa ating likas na kakayanan na makiramdam sa iba, sa pagtulong sa mga nangangailangan, pakikiramay sa mga kapuspalad, lalo na sa mga biktima ng mga sakuna sa iba't ibang anyo ng bayanihan o pagdadamayan, at bantog sa lahat ang ating magiliw na pagtanggap sa kapwa o hospitality. Number 2, family orientation. Napakalalim, tapat at maalab ang pagmamahal ng mga Pinoy sa pamilya na binubuo hindi lang ng ina, ama at mga anak, kundi pati ng lolo at lola, mga pinsan o kamag-anak, pati nga ninong at ninang at iba pang tao na mahalaga sa atin. Para sa ating mga Pinoy, ang ating pamilya ang pinag-uugatan ng ating pagkakakilanlan, ang pinagmumula ng emosyonal, material o anumang uri ng suporta, at para sa atin, ang pamilya ang pangunahing focus at responsibilidad ng bawat isa. Number 3, joy and humor. Likas na magiliw at masayahin tayong mga Pinoy. Kahit pa tayo ay may dinadalang problema o may pinagdadaanang unos sa buhay. Meron tayong positibo at kaaya-ayang disposisyon, sense of humor, at pagkahilig sa kasiyahan o katatawanan na nagkakadagdag hindi lang sa ating charm, kundi pati sa tibay at lakas ng ating diwang Pilipino. Number 4, flexibility, adaptability, and creativity. Isa sa kahangahangang katangian nating mga Pinoy ang kakayanan nating mag-adjust sa anumang sitwasyon, kalagayan o kapaligiran. Ang mga pangyayaring biglaan o hindi inaasahan ay hindi malaking issue sa atin dahil mabilis tayong makaangkop sa mga biglaang pangyayari. Tayo rin ay malikhain, maparaan at mabilis matuto. Mahusay din tayong mag-improvise ng mga bagay na nasa paligid natin upang matugunan ang pangangailangan o mapagkakitaan. Number 5, hard work and industry. Napakamasigasig nating mga Pinoy pagdating sa trabaho, kahit pa nga mahirap ang sitwasyon. Malalim ang pinaghuhugutan natin. Siyempre, number 1 palagi ang ating pamilya na hangad nating maitaas ang antas ng ating pamumuhay at matugunan ang mga pangangailangan sa araw-araw. May pabuya man o wala, palagi nating pinahahalagahan at pinaghuhusay ang ating trabaho dahil dito tayo kumukuha ng ikabubuhay. Number 6, faith and religiosity. Napakalalim din ng pananampalataya nating mga Pilipino. Ang likas na pagkarelihiyoso ay tumutulong sa atin na maunawaan at tanggapin ang anumang pangyayari sa ating buhay sa konteksto ng kalooban at plano ng Diyos. Kaya naman ang mga sakuna, kalamidad, kasawian, kahirapan o anumang kapalaran ay madali nating natatanggap at nananatiling positibo ang pananaw. Ang ating pamumuhay ay kakambal ng ating relihiyon at ang pananalangin ay mahalagang bahagi ng ating buhay. Number 7, ability to survive. Dahil sa husay nating mga Pinoy na dumiskarte, kayang-kaya nating mabuhay kahit saan. Kahit kapos tayo sa buhay, mahirapan man ang kalagayan o mahirap man ang kalagayan, natuto na tayong makibagay sa mga ganitong sitwasyon. At yun ang mga kalakasan, strengths of the Filipino character. Of course, marami pa tayong strengths or kahangahangang kaugalian, pero ito muna yung dominant strengths identified by the Senate Task Force. And favor, pakilagay naman sa comment section ang iba pang magagandang kaugalian nating mga Pinoy na naiisip mo. Salamat po! And that's the Module 2, Lesson 2, the strengths of the Filipino character. This is Module 2, Lesson 3, weaknesses of Filipino character. Let's begin! In this lesson, you will learn the weaknesses of the Filipino character, identified by the Senate Task Force. They are extreme personalism, extreme family-centeredness, lack of discipline, passivity and lack of initiative, colonial mentality, kanya-kanya syndrome, and lack of self-analysis and self-reflection. Tingnan natin ito isa-isa. Una, extreme personalism. Ang daigdig at ang kapaligiran na ating ginagalawan ay tinitingnan nating mga Pilipino sa konteksto ng personal na relasyon natin dito. Kadalasan ang mga pangyayari sa paligid ay iniuugnay natin sa personal nating buhay. Sa madaling salita, napaka-personal nating mga Pinoy. At isa ito sa mga dahilan kung bakit sensitibo tayo at madaling maapektuhan ang ating damdamin. Halimbawa sa trabaho, kapag nagbibigay sa atin ng feedback ang katrabaho o kaya ay boss natin, akala natin kine-question ang ating kakayahan. O kaya naman pag si boss nagbigay ng magandang feedback, akala natin may special treatment na o baka may pagtingin sa atin, di ba? Ginagawa lang naman nila ang trabaho nila. So, very personal. Isa pang halimbawa, pag nagkakasakit, minsan iisipin agad pinarurusahan na ng Diyos. Pwede bang napabaya lang sa kalusugan kaya nagkasakit? O kaya halimbawa yung kaibigan mo, nasin ang chat mo tapos di agad nakareply. Magtatampo na agad tayo. Pwede bang busy lang yung tao? Very personal. Kaya extreme personalism is one of our weaknesses. Ikalawa, extreme family-centeredness. Lahat talaga na extreme ay nakakasama. Maganda ang kaugalian natin na pagpapahalaga sa pamilya, kaya lang nagiging sobra tayo minsan. At sa sobrang focus natin sa pamilya at sa pagtanaw natin ng utang na loob, pinag-uugatan ito ng maraming issue na makikita natin lalo na sa politika. Halimbawa, siguro alam mo yung political dynasty. Di ba? Magkakapamilya o magkakamag-anak ang makikita mo sa mga posisyon sa politika. Halimbawa sa probinsya, sa ibang probinsya, gobernador si lalaki, tapos kongresista si babae, tapos yung kapatid ay mayor, tapos ang ibang kamag-anak ay opisyal sa ibang sangay ng pamahalaan sa kanilang probinsya. Hindi ko alam kung saang probinsya ka or bayan, pero tingnan mo rin, baka talamak din ang political dynasty sa inyo. Isa sa pinag-uugatan nito ang extreme family-centeredness na ugali nating mga Pinoy. Pangatlo, lack of discipline. Bakit kaya karamihan sa ating mga Pinoy ay kulang sa disiplina, di ba? Kitang-kita ito sa kakulangan sa determinasyon at motivation, mga desisyon na dala lang ng bugso ng damdamin, sa kawalan natin ng pagpapahalaga sa oras natin at sa oras ng iba, yung tinatawag nating Filipino time. Sa ningas kogon o magaling lang sa simula, pag nahirapan na, give up na, suko agad. Sa kawalan ng respeto sa kapaligiran at kalinisan, di ba? Kung saan-saan lang makatapo ng basura. Yung tinatawag nating crab mentality o hilahan pababa pag umira lang inggit at iba pa. Ang kakulangan natin sa disiplina ay nagdudulot ng marami pang di magagandang katangian natin. Mababago pa kaya natin ito? Siyempre oo, kaya nga may values education. Fight lang! Ika-4, passivity and lack of initiative. Napagsabihan ka na ba minsan nung bata ka pa na para kang pako, pag di pinukpok hindi lulubog? Ganyan tayo mga Pinoy minsan, kulang sa pagkukusa, passive. Kung ano lang sabihin, yun lang ang gagawin, reactive. Kulang tayo minsan sa pagiging active at proactive. Kaya nga sa politika, palagi tayong naghahanap ng leader na matutularan at magbibigay ng direksyon at inspirasyon sa atin para kumilos. Madalas tayong nakadepende sa iba at umaasa sa iba na gawin ang mga bagay-bagay para sa atin. Spoon feeding, sabi ng iba. Ika-5, colonial mentality. Imported. Yan ang hilig nating mga Pinoy. Mataas ang tingin natin sa mga produktong gawa sa ibang bansa kaysa sa mga gawa sa Pinas. Kahit nga asawa, mas gusto ay imported. Ang ugali nating colonial mentality ay nagpapakita ng kakulangan natin sa pagmamahal sa sariling atin at kakulangan sa pagiging makabayan o yung diwang nasyonalismo. Ika-6, kanya-kanya syndrome. Marami pa rin sa ating mga Pinoy ang may ganitong ugali na magkanya-kanya. Naalala ko dati sa seminaryo. Marami kami at ang tendency ay maggrupo-grupo ayon sa wika o lugar na pinagmulan o regionalism. Halimbawa, yung mga Bisaya, sila-sila, Bicolano, kami-kami, Tagalog, sila-sila, o kanya-kanya, mga Ilocano, kanya-kanyang grupo yan. Itong kanya-kanya syndrome ay pinagmumula ng iba pang negatibong ugali tulad ng inggitan, siraan, unhealthy competition, crab mentality at iba pa. Kanya-kanya syndrome. Ikapito, lack of self-analysis and self-reflection. Kadalasan marami sa ating mga Pinoy ang kinatatamaran ng pag-iisip ng malalim, pagninilay sa mga pangyayari sa buhay o pagsisiyasat sa sariling buhay at sitwasyon. Kaya naman, hindi natin matukoy ang pinakaugat ng ating problema, personal man na buhay o panglipunan. At kadalasan, dinadaan na lang natin sa tawa o biro kahit ang mga seryosong problema na pwede naman sanang masolusyonan kung pagninilayan lamang natin. Dahil hindi lahat ng problema ay pwedeng idaan sa tawa, sa biro at kasiyahan. So, those are the weaknesses of the Filipino character identified by the Senate Task Force. Paki-comment na lang sa comment section ang iba pang weaknesses na naiisip mo. Salamat po. So that's the Module 2, Lesson 3, Weaknesses of the Filipino Character. This is Module 2, Lesson 4, Goals and Strategies for Change. Let's begin! Sa lesson na ito, tatalakayin natin ang mga layunin at pamamaraan o estratehiya tungo sa pagbabago na iminungkahi ng kagawaran base sa mga kalakasan at kahinaan ng mga Pilipino na natalakay natin sa Lessons 2 and 3. Unahin natin ang mga layunin or goals for change. Una, hubugin ang mga Pilipino na magkaroon ng maalab na pagmamahal sa bayan, patriotism and national pride, katapatan sa bansang Pilipinas, at pagtangkilik sa mga produktong Pilipino sa sariling atin. Pangalawa, turuan ang mga Pilipino na magkaroon ng pagpapahalaga sa kapakanan ng nakararami or common good. Kakayahan na labanan ang pagiging makasarili at sa halip ay maging bukas palad at mapagkawang gawa at isulong ang katarungan at pagkamuhi sa karahasan. Ikatlo, hubugin ang mga Pilipino na magkaroon ng integridad at pananagutan, integrity and accountability, pagsugpo sa korupsyon at pag-iwas sa mga sitwasyon na maaaring magbunga ng korupsyon sa ating personal na buhay. Ikaapat, hubugin ang mga Pilipino na magkaroon ng pagpapahalaga sa disiplina at sigasig sa pagtatrabaho at pagsasabuhay mismo ng tamang disiplina at dedikasyon sa trabaho. At ikalima, turuan at hikayatin ang mga Pilipino na hindi lang palagahan, kundi ugaliin na magkaroon ng pagninilay sa sariling buhay, pagninilay o internalisasyon ng mga pagpapahalagang espiritual at pagbibigay ng higit na halaga sa kakanyahan o essence kaysa sa panlabas na anyo o form. Sa madaling salita, itong mga kahinaan natin ay tinapatan ng mga layuning tungo sa pagbabago, halimbawa sa personalism. Nais natin itong mabago sa pamamagitan ng pagkakaroon ng sense of common good. Sa ating sobrang family-centeredness, ganun din sense of common good. Sa kakulangan sa disiplina, ang tugon ay disiplina, integridad at pananagutan. Sa pagiging passive, disiplina at sigasig sa pagtatrabaho. Sa kaisipang kolonyal, pagkamakabayan at pagmamalaki sa ating bansa. Sa pagkakanya-kanya, pagkakaroon ng pagpapahalaga sa kapakanan ng nakararami at hustisya, at sa lack of analysis ay pagpapaigting ng advokasiyang self-reflection at analysis. Tumungo naman tayo sa mga pamamaraan o estratehiya tungo sa pagbabago. Una, ang mga estratehiya ay dapat multi-layered at multi-sectoral. Ibig sabihin, ang pag-recover ng ating mga pagpapahalagang moral ay hindi lang dapat yung mga nasa ibaba o nasa itaas ang gagawa, kundi lahat dapat yung nasa publiko o pribadong sektor, dapat lahat ay involved, official man o hindi, public sector o private sector man yan. So, dapat lahat. Pangalawa, ang estratehiya sa pagbabago ay hindi lang dapat nakatuon sa pagbabago ng mga nasa kapangyarihan, kundi pati pagbabago ng masang Pilipino. Pangatlo, ang estratehiya ay dapat holistic. Dapat bigyang diin hindi lang ang pagbabago ng bawat Pilipino, kundi pati ng sistema at istruktura ng ating mga kaugalian na hindi nakakatulong sa ating mga Pilipino. Ika-4, upang makamit ang pagbabago, dapat maging bahagi ang masang Pilipino sa pagkilos tungo sa pagbabagong hangad ng pamahalaan. Hindi ito madali. Kinakailangan dito ang isang leader na mataas ang kredibilidad at may kakayahan na i-inspire o i-motivate ang masang Pilipino tungo sa pagbabago. Kasi kung kurap ang namumuno, tiyak na hindi makikinig ang sambayan ng Pilipino, di ba? Ika-5, dapat ang estratehiya sa pagbabago ay bite-sized pieces. Ibig sabihin, may mga maliliit na hakbang na nakalatag at susundin ng sambayanan. Maliit na pagbabago man sa bawat araw o bawat buwan, okay na yon. Hindi dapat biglaan. Kumbaga sa pagkain, dapat yung kaya lang isubo at kainin, hindi dapat lahatin sa isang subo kasi tiyak na mahihirapan tayong nguyain, di ba? So, bite-size. Ika-6, dapat ang estratehiya sa pagbabago ay nakaugnay sa pang-araw-araw na pamumuhay natin. Yung mga bite-size na estratehiya ay dapat ugnay-ugnay sila at applicable sa araw-araw nating pamumuhay. Ika-7, ang estratehiya sa pagbabago ay dapat maipatupad ng pamahalaan hindi para magpasikat, kundi dahil ito ay bunga ng katapangan at determinasyon ng kalooban tungo sa pagbabago at bukal sa kalooban na magsakripisyo. So, that's the lesson 4, the goals and strategies for change. And this ends our module 2. So let's have a quick recap of module 2. In lesson 1, we learned the MRP background. In lesson 2, strengths of Filipino character. In lesson 3, weaknesses of Filipino character. In lesson 4, the goals and strategies for change.